Hello and welcome back to my channel. Today we're going to be doing this look inspired by the Kylie Jenner and Batman collection that she came out with. She did this really cool like graphic black and yellow look. I loved it as soon as I saw it, so I wanted to kind of recreate it as best as I could. So that is the look that we're going to be doing today. So if you want to see how to get this look, then let's get started. Okay, the first thing I want to do is go in with my MAC Laying Low paint pot as usual and just put that all over the lid. I'm just doing a nice thin layer. This will make my eyeshadows pop, but it will also conceal any discoloration that I have there. For the eyeshadows, I'm going to be dipping into the Morphe and Abby Roberts palette. This is really pretty. It's got those grays, blacks, the yellow in there. So I think this will be a good palette for this look. To start sketching out our shape, I'm going to take the shade Brownie Points right here, just that way if I make any mistakes, it's a little bit easier to fix. And then I'm going to go in with the shade Bro, which is just the matte black, and trace over it because really there's not many browns in this look. Okay, I'm going in with a Sigma E06 brush, which is a really small angled brush, and I'm going to start sketching out that shape. So it comes out to a point pretty far out. And then we're going to angle it inwards and take it up above that natural crease. Like I said, I'm just doing the brown just to give me a rough guide, and then I'll go in with the black. So this goes kind of right here, and it's a little bit more almost squared off. Okay, so I just took that a little bit higher up into the crease. I just have to get really close to my mirror to do it. So now I'm going to take this in right here just a little bit more. I'm keeping this pretty straight. And then I'm going to go straight down. We want these lines to be as straight as possible. Like so. So now that we have these two lines right here, I'm going to try and round this out just a little bit. It's still pretty squared off, but it's just not a point here. It's a little bit more curved, which I might just clean up with some concealer just to make my life a little bit easier. So I think that's good as far as like the basic shape. I'm going to go in with some concealer right here and carve this out, make it a little bit more rounded, and then we will go in and trace everything with black. So now with a tiny bit of concealer, this is the Morphe V300 brush. I'm just going to make that a little bit more rounded off. But you want to keep this line right here really straight. Now with a MAC 266 and that black shade, I'm going to go in and start perfecting that line. I'm going to clean it up with concealer, so if it's not perfectly straight and in that guide, it's fine, we can fix it. I am going to leave a gap right here because I'm going to go in with a yellow liner and I don't want to try and put that on top of a black. So I'm just going to start tracing that line. And then I'm going to stop about there probably. And now dipping back into that Sigma E06, I'm just going to do the same thing on this inner part. Again, trying to keep this rounded, but we can always clean it up if it gets too straight. You just want this line to be super straight. Now I'm going back in with that Morphe brush and I'm going to start cleaning up this entire line. Her look is very sharp and perfected, so you really don't want any imperfections if you can avoid it. This brush is really thin and allows me to get really close to that line. This, I would just say take your time with it and just make that line as straight as possible. And I don't typically carve out like a cut crease on top, but again, I want it to be super sharp. And now I'm going to start filling this in. So I'm using a MAC 228 brush. And since we already have that guide, we can use a little bit of a bigger brush, but you still want to keep it on the smaller side as far as like shading brushes go. So her look kind of starts at the lash line and then goes up to this way. So I'm going about halfway in on the lid with that black. So once I get that shape built, I'm just going to connect it up here and then start to fade this in as well. So you can see with my eye shape, it kind of folds right here. I don't want that, so I'm going to look forward and see where on my eye shape I need this to sit. So this needs to go up a little bit higher. And then I'm just going to look down and fade or fill that in right here. So now you can see it's starting to look better when I lift my eye up. And now for the top, we just want it to be the darkest at that line and then kind of fade down. So I'm barely touching the skin and I'm holding my brush like further back so you don't have as much pressure on the brush. So for here, we're going to start right there at that rounded edge and fill that in the most. And then I'm using the tip of my brush and not the side of it right here because I don't want to lay on a lot of product. And we're just going to start fading that downwards. Having the reference photo handy is going to make a huge difference. So here I'm dipping back into the angled brush because I really want to get this little spot right here. Like that. So now that I'm looking at the reference photo, I feel like this spot right here needs to be taken down a little bit lower. So it's a very easy fix, just again a little bit of that concealer. Now for the yellow liner, I'm taking the NYX Epic Wear Liquid Liner in the shade Yellow. So for this, she has a very faint yellow line, so I'm going to try and stabilize my hand and draw that line where we left that gap there. So I feel like this isn't popping as much as I would like it to. It's kind of blending in with my skin tone. So I'm going to take this Glisten Cosmetics Wet Liner in the shade Lemonade, which is a brighter yellow. This is a water activated liner, and I'm going to use the Glisten Cosmetics No. 2 brush to kind of reapply that. So I'm just going to put that exactly where we did the other one and see if this one pops more, which it does. Okay, that's a little bit better. So I want to make sure that that yellow really pops on the inner corner, so I'm going in with my NYX Jumbo Pencil in the shade Milk and just putting it right here underneath that black. And I'm just doing a thin layer because I don't want this to crease up. And now I'm going in with that shade Solar and packing that on the lid where that white is. And I'm using a Morphe JH41 for this. This is definitely a trust the process sort of look. I'm going to start moving that yellow up into the black so we can fade that out. And now with the brush I used with the black, I just wiped it off. I'm going to start fading out that line very, very lightly. Okay, so I'm going to try taking that Solar shade and packing it on top with a tiny little brush just to make the tone match this a little bit better because I feel like it's pulling almost like green. We might just be rolling with it, it's fine. I don't feel like there's a shade in the Abby Roberts palette for the lid, so I'm going to take the shade Spores. This is from the, whatever palette this was called, the Void palette from MAC with their Stranger Things collection. Just any frosty white shimmery colors should be fine. Okay, so I'm just going to start packing that on the lid. This is using a Zoeva 234 brush. And I'm going to start off with a little bit because I don't know how frosty I want this. But I'm going to take that all the way up to that yellow liner right here. Okay, so I'm just going in with a little bit more right here on the center of the lid. That way that shimmer really pops. So now that I have the shimmer on there, I'm just going to go in and fade in the black a little bit more. I feel like that V shape right there was a little bit too harsh. Okay, so here's where we are right now. I'm going to clean this up a little bit more and then I'm going to put on mascara and lashes and then we'll come back and do the lower lash line together. Okay, so here's where we are right now. I just applied some of my NYX lashes. I don't know exactly which style these are. I will make sure to put it down below. But I'm just going to go in with a black eyeliner and put it just in my waterline. This is the Stila Stingray eyeliner. Okay, now I'm just going in with a little bit more of that NYX Jumbo Pencil in Milk just to bring that yellow down a little bit. And then with that yellow, I'm just going to make sure it wraps around that inner corner down onto the lash line. So it doesn't really look like she has any eyeshadow on the lower lash line, but I am going to apply the shade Freckle, which is just the lighter gray in the palette, just to add a little bit of definition, and then I'm going to put some mascara on my lower lashes. And as always, I use the MAC Extended Play Gigablack Lash. And here is that entire look completed. Obviously it's not the most wearable, most practical look, but it was still something fun to do, and I hope you guys like it.